In our headlines on this Friday, July 25th, here in South Korea. South Korean trade officials are in Washington, D.C., seeking a trade deal with their counterparts in the Trump administration ahead of the August 1st deadline on the pause on country-specific tariffs. Meanwhile, the Education Ministry here shares a plan that allows some 8,000 medical students who had faced prospects of failing their courses for boycotting classes to return to school in the second semester. And also on the local front, the blistering heat persists nationwide, prompting a tangible surge in the number of heat-related health emergencies as authorities raise the national heat alert to serious, its highest level. South Korea has about a week to seal a tariff deal with the U.S. ahead of the August 1st deadline imposed by the latter. Our Moon Hye-ryan reports.
With just a week remaining before the U.S. imposes reciprocal tariffs, South Korean and U.S. trade officials met in Washington, D.C., but failed to reach a deal. On Thursday local time, Industry Minister Kim Jong-un and Chief Trade Negotiator Yo Han-gu held an hour-long meeting with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. The meeting had originally been scheduled as a high-level session involving both countries' trade and finance ministers, but was abruptly changed after U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent cancelled due to scheduling conflicts. South Korea's Trade Ministry said that Seoul proposed deepening cooperation in manufacturing in sectors such as shipbuilding, semiconductors and batteries, and urged that tariffs, especially on automobiles, be reduced. Although the meeting ended without a solid deal, the ministry revealed that the two sides agreed to hold follow-up talks as soon as possible. In the lead-up to the meeting, the U.S. turned up the pressure on Seoul by highlighting its trade deal with Japan that rolled back its tariffs from 25% to 15%. Lutnick told CNBC in an interview that as South Korea very much wants to make a deal, he could imagine their reactions when Tokyo struck a trade deal with Washington, saying that he could hear the expletives. Trump on the same day remarked that other countries could see tariff reductions if they make large-scale investments like Japan. With automobiles being a major export to the U.S. for both South Korea and Japan, there are concerns that Korean car makers could be placed at a disadvantage if Seoul fails to secure a similar reduction in tariffs. Looking ahead, Kim is set to meet with the chair of the White House National Energy Council, while Yo will hold separate meetings with U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer to further discuss tariffs and energy cooperation. Moon Hye-ryan, Arirang News.
And a muted confrontation between the U.S. leader and the head of the U.S. Central Bank took place on Thursday, just ahead of the Federal Reserve's policy meeting next week. Our Moon Ji-young covers the interaction and more.
U.S. President Donald Trump engaged another subtle tension-filled bout with Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, this time at a construction site. In a rare visit on Thursday to the Federal Reserve, less than a week before the FOMC meeting, Trump inspected what he calls the costly renovation of the central bank's buildings.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
In response to Trump's cost allegations, the Fed leader noted that it appeared the president had included the cost of overhauling another central bank office in the current repair cost for two buildings.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
This tense exchange unfolds amid the Trump administration's consistent criticisms of Chairman Powell's stewardship of the independent agency and its decision not to cut interest rates this year, a move strongly demanded by Trump. Trump reiterated his stance that the Fed position on interest rates was hindering economic progress. He stated that,
Well, I'd love him to lower interest rates, but other than that, what can I tell you? The country is doing really well.
After the visit, Trump said it was not necessary to fire Powell, although he has previously raised the possibility of getting rid of the Fed leader. President Trump has explicitly called for the Federal Reserve to lower key rates by 3 percentage points. However, the U.S. Central Bank has held interest rates in the 4.25% to 4.5% range throughout the year as it monitors the potential economic impact of tariffs. Presidential visits to the Federal Reserve are uncommon, with former President George W. Bush's visit in 2006 marking the last such occasion before this event. 문지영, 아리랑 뉴스.
Meanwhile, back here in South Korea, a new study schedule has been proposed for medical students whose prolonged protest against the former administration's healthcare reform has disrupted their original academic timetable. Our Park Gonu has details.
A year-and-a-half-long standoff between the South Korean government and the medical community is now showing signs of a breakthrough. On Friday, the Education Ministry unveiled a plan allowing roughly 8,000 medical students who face failing their courses after boycotting classes to return in the second semester. The students had protested the previous administration's push to expand medical school admissions. The new plan follows a proposal put forward by the Council of Medical School Presidents, which has been under discussion. Key elements of the government's plan include shifting from a year-based academic system to a semester-based one, allowing students to make up missed credits during breaks and continue their studies. Graduation timelines for third-year students will now vary by school, with options in either February or August of 2027. As the duration of clinical training varies by university, those graduating in February will be able to graduate one semester earlier. Additional national medical licensing exams will also be scheduled to accommodate returning students that graduate this August. The government on Friday also held the first disaster response meeting on the collective resignations by doctors since President Lee Jae-myung took office. Second Vice Health Minister Lee Hyung-un expressed deep regret over the prolonged disruption to healthcare services. He reaffirmed the government's commitment to a people-centered medical reform built on dialogue and trust with the medical community. The minister added that both the new administration and the medical sector are beginning to take steps toward rebuilding trust, emphasizing efforts to listen to feedback directly from the field. With these developments, a once tightly knotted standoff now appears to be slowly unraveling. Park Gonu, Arirang News.
And President Lee Jae-myung has pledged to make workplaces safe to ensure, quote, no one dies. The pledge was made earlier on this Friday during his visit to an SPC Samlip bread factory in Gyeongju province, where an accident in May killed a female employee, sparking much public outrage. Noting that he himself was once a factory worker, the human rights lawyer turned president called for practical measures to reduce the death rate at workplaces here in South Korea, which is said to be notoriously high among OECD members. He also asserted that no cost consideration can justify the neglect of workplace safety and human life. Pundits say South Korea is on track to recording one of its hottest summers in history, as forecasters warn of greater heat this coming weekend. Our Pyongyang has the weather.
The Ministry of the Interior and Safety announced on Friday that its national heatwave alert level has been raised to serious, its highest level. The serious level is issued when over 40% of the country is expected to experience a daily maximum perceived temperature of 35 degrees Celsius or higher for more than 3 consecutive days. Level 1 of the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters was also activated as of 2 p.m. A heatwave warning was issued for all of Seoul and many parts of the country on Thursday, with the capital back under the highest level notice for the first time in 11 days. According to the Korea Meteorological Administration, temperatures for Seoul will continue to hover in the high 30s, with Friday expected to see daytime highs of 37 degrees Celsius, 38 degrees on Saturday, and 37 on Sunday. This summer's heat has intensified more rapidly than usual, with both daytime highs and overnight lows hitting record levels. When compared to the same period in previous years, conditions have surpassed even the notorious summers of 1994 and 2018. Also, the number of days with extreme heat and tropical nights is now the second highest on record. The sweltering summer is also leading to a rising number of heat-related illnesses. According to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, a total of 107 people sought emergency treatment for heat-related conditions across the country on Thursday alone, with one fatality reported in Paju, Gyeongju Province. Since May 15th, the number of patients stood at 1,963, nearly 3 times higher than the same period last year. Deaths have more than tripled from 3 last year to 10 this year. Heat-related illnesses are acute conditions caused by excessive heat exposure, typically accompanied by symptoms such as headache, dizziness, muscle cramps, and fatigue. Without timely treatment, these can lead to loss of consciousness and can be life-threatening. Hyun-yeong, Arirang News.
In other news, 2 American lawmakers have reintroduced a bill to provide work visas for highly skilled South Koreans. Now, Republican lawmaker Young Kim and Democrat lawmaker Sidney Kamlaga on Thursday introduced the Partner with Korea Act as part of efforts to encourage greater partnership between South Korean and American businesses. The bill seeks to create an allotment of 15,000 E4 highly skilled work visas for South Koreans with specialized education or expertise. Now, the bill was previously introduced in the 113th, 116th, 117th and 118th Congresses, but to no avail. South Korea will be transferring its Nuri rocket technology to a private company. According to the Korea Aerospace Administration on Friday, it has sealed a deal to transfer core technology from the government-led space launch program to Hanwha Aerospace. Hanwha was selected after evaluation by experts tapped by the Trade Ministry and researchers from the Korea Aerospace Research Institute. Now, experts believe this deal to commercialize the country's space launch program will serve to spearhead private space ventures. On the cultural front, the venue of this year's APEC leaders meeting, Gyeongju City, is currently hosting a Korean contemporary art exhibition to commemorate the upcoming multilateral economic meeting. My colleague An Sung-jin was there.
A collection of 4 of the greatest. Kim Hong-gi, Park Soo-gun, Lee Jung-sub, and Jang Wook-jin are artists who represent Korean contemporary art, and works of all 4 can be seen together at Gyeongju Arts Center. In celebration of the 2025 APEC Economic Leaders Meeting taking place in Gyeongju this fall, the exhibition, a collaboration between MMCA and Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power, puts the spotlight on Korean art.
These 4 leading figures of modern and contemporary art reflect the hardships of their era as well as Korea's tradition and nature, which they show through their own unique artistic style.
Kim Hong-gi is known as the pioneer of Korean abstract art through his notable pieces, including mountains. His signature style of all-over dot paintings is often seen on canvases filled with blue dots. Park Soo-gun also had his own style in portraying human goodness with layers of oil paint, as seen with his painting Under the Tree. And just like Park, who illustrated the hardships of ordinary people in post-war Korea, Lee Jung-sub expressed his hardships and emotions, such as deep longing for his family, using silver foil paintings like in Family. And like all other artists, Jang Wook-jin also focused on the everyday aspects of life that are reflected on his canvases through simple yet clear depictions, as seen in Village.
I got to see all the artists in one spot, and as someone who's interested in art, I had to see the artworks up close. Pieces from artist Kim Hwang-gi are not so easily seen, and to see the change throughout his work was moving.
Through the special exhibition with all 4 artists, visitors can see the essence of Korean beauty. And the Gyeongju Foundation for Arts and Culture notes that more such events in accordance with the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting will take place to boost the city.
Holding such a large-scale exhibition means a lot. Not only will it contribute to the vitalization of regional culture and art, but by hosting these exhibitions outside of Seoul and the capital area, allow local residents to explore these cultural events and boost their pride.
This exhibition runs till October, so for those interested in exploring Korean contemporary and modern art, visit the historical city of Gyeongju. An Sung-jin, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
An ancient Korean building believed to be a royal shrine from the Joseon dynasty has made the long journey back home from neighboring Japan. Our Choi Soo-young shares its story.
Roof tiles, wooden pillars, and planks are carefully wrapped one by one. A lost Joseon-era building that had been hidden behind a Japanese Buddha statue for nearly 100 years has finally come home piece by piece with nearly 5,000 wooden pots. This building, called Hanwha, is now being kept in the Traditional Architecture Elements Conservation Center in Paju, Gyeongju Province. It is the first time that a full wooden Korean structure like this has been returned home. It used to be located at the very back of a famous Japanese temple called Gotokuin in Kanagawa Prefecture. It is believed that in 1924, during the Japanese occupation of Korea, the building was given to a Japanese businessman by the Joseon Industrial Bank, and from there it was moved to Japan. Later, the building was donated to the temple and used as a prayer room until it was first revealed in the 1990s by a Korean professor, Kim Jong-dong. Though Korea tried several times to bring it back, those efforts failed until last year. However, thanks to the support and strong will of Takao Sato, the chief priest of the temple, the return was made possible, ensuring the shrine could be preserved in its original home, Korea. Experts say the building may be related to royal architecture based on the unique and colorful roof tile designs, including dragons and butterflies.
This feature has a striking appearance. It is usually found in palace buildings, and at Gwanoltang, 10 pillar patterns like these were installed. This shows that Gwanoltang is linked to royal architecture.
There are 5 known remaining Joseon royal shrines. We think this one was also royal, but likely outside in a small palace near Gyeongbokgung. It's probably a princess shrine, smaller than those for royal concubines.
Park also noted that even though the building stayed in Japan for a long time, there are clear signs that any attempts at restoration followed traditional Joseon architectural styles.
The roof tiles taken from Joseon were only the original ones installed at Gwanoltang, so if those tiles were damaged, they would have had made new ones in Japan. But they copied the original Joseon's designs exactly, even though the dragon pattern is very complex to produce.
Administrator of Korea Heritage Service Hamin also expressed a strong commitment to continue bringing back cultural heritage items that were taken out of the country.
Currently, about 247,000 national heritage items have been taken abroad. Of these, only about 5% have been returned by repatriation or donation. We are determined to recover all items that were stolen or illegally taken.
Once research are complete, the plan is to restore Gwanoltang by preserving its key parts and recreating the damaged sections using traditional methods as much as possible. Joseon, Arirang News.
South Korea is warning against travel to areas near the Thai-Cambodia border, where deadly clashes continue for a second day. The Foreign Ministry here has placed districts in Cambodia and Thailand under special travel advisories as of noon on this Friday. This comes as Thailand warns the clashes could move towards war. Thailand reported 15 fatalities and at least 46 hurt, while Cambodia confirmed 1 civilian killed and 5 injured. The clashes reignite a decades-old dispute over an 800-kilometer border marked by colonial-era maps. Both sides blame each other for the military confrontation, marking their bloodiest in more than a decade.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. French President Emmanuel Macron has announced that France will recognize Palestine as a state. The French president stated in a social media post on Thursday that France will formalize its recognition of the state of Palestine at the UN General Assembly in September in support of sustainable peace in the Middle East. Macron emphasized that ending the Gaza war, securing the release of hostages, demilitarizing Hamas, and delivering massive humanitarian aid are urgent priorities that his decision supports. The move makes France home to the largest Jewish and Muslim populations in Western Europe, the first G7 country to recognize Palestinian statehood. while the Palestinian Authority welcomed the announcement, calling it proof of France's support for international law and Palestinian self-determination. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu denounced it as rewarding terror. The state of Palestine is currently recognized by more than 140 of the 193 UN member countries. In Russia, a plane crash in the far east of the country killed all 48 people on board. The An-24 passenger plane, operated by Hanwha Airlines, was en route from Khabarovsk to Tinda with a stopover in Blagoveshchensk near the Chinese border. The plane disappeared from radar near Tinda shortly after 1 p.m. local time before rescue crews discovered its burning fuselage on a hillside. On board were 6 crew members and 42 passengers, including 5 children. Regional officials have confirmed that none had survived. The aircraft was built in 1976 and had been in service for nearly 5 decades. Despite a history of mechanical incidents, it had recently passed a safety inspection. A criminal investigation has been launched into suspected air traffic violations. President Vladimir Putin offered condolences, and the Amur region in Russia's Far East declared 3 days of mourning. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi formally signed a free trade agreement in London on Thursday, promising tariff cuts and increased market access for both economies. The agreement aims to increase bilateral trade by approximately $34 billion, marking Britain's most significant bilateral trade deal since Brexit. The pact reduces India's average tariff on UK goods from around 15% to 3%, including the immediate halving of tariffs on Scotch whisky from 150% to 75%, and duties on British automobiles from over 100% to roughly 10%. American pro wrestling legend Hulk Hogan died on Thursday in Florida after suffering a cardiac arrest. Hogan, whose real name was Terry Bollea, was the biggest professional wrestler of the 1980s and 90s, transforming the World Wrestling Federation, which later became the WWE, into a global entertainment powerhouse. With his iconic Hulkamania persona, Hogan won the world champion title 12 times and popularized wrestling through crossovers into film, reality TV, and pop culture. Figures across wrestling, entertainment, and politics, including President Trump, paid tribute, while the WWE described him as one of pop culture's most recognizable figures. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
Heatwave warnings have now been issued in most parts of the country to the extent that it is difficult to find in areas just under heatwave advisories. Today, the daytime temperature soared to a high of 37 degrees Celsius in Seoul and also 37 degrees in Jeonju. The peak of this summer heat is coming tomorrow. Tomorrow, the hottest day of the year is expected as the daytime temperature in Seoul will rise to 38 degrees. There's a high possibility of heat-related illness, so it is better to refrain from outdoor activities. If you're outside, you should drink plenty of water often. Tomorrow morning, Seoul will start off at 28 degrees, Jeju 27 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 38 degrees in Seoul, Daejeon 37 degrees, Busan 32 degrees. Due to the indirect effect of a typhoon, strong rain and winds will hit Jeju Island this weekend. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Thank you for watching, and do stay with us for our panel session coming up next.